Oh boy, it's FNAF time again. Let's just go ahead and dive right in because frankly, I don't think we need to talk about the previous games, its legacy, and all that other stuff. It's been done to death by everyone else, and we like to break ground here on the ChunkyBeef YouTube experience. We're true pioneers in the gaming space. Tell your friends. Ruin, full name Five Nights at Freddy's, Security Breach Ruin, is the free DLC update to Security Breach, which means if you have the aforementioned game, you have the DLC. Though I think you had to actually actively download it, which is weird. Not sure why they didn't just simply pack it into the original game, but I digress. It's a whole new story taking place after the events of Security Breach, but instead of Gregory, we play as Cassie, allegedly one of Gregory's friends. Which is strange because I don't recall anything alluding to Gregory having a friend or friends, though the game at least explains how they became friends. What's interesting to me is that in a game series whose hallmark is being purposely vague about everything, probably because they're always flying by the seat of their pants, this particular aspect is very open and obvious. Anyway, Cassie enters the ruin of the Pizza Flex because Gregory has managed to get into contact with her, claiming that he's trapped and needs her help to escape. If you've played the original Security Breach, one thing you'll notice is that Steel Wool has completely removed the open world exploration aspect in favor of a more horror-centric, railroaded approach. The big gimmick here is that you can wear a mask that allows you to see augmented reality, which makes objects straight up disappear and let you see things that you wouldn't without said mask. There's a handful of other uses for the mask, but the majority of its use involves circumventing obstacles and solving puzzles, which isn't especially interactive, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, while the horror aspects help bring the series more in touch with its roots, it's a very short outing and one that only really rewards people that have been reading the books. Yes, in case you weren't aware, FNAF has had numerous books released, each one more vague than the last, basically a collection of short stories alluding to a number of events in the games in ways that create more questions than answers. Or so I've seen anyway. Most of my awareness of the books came from watching Game Theory. I'm sure as hell not killing my precious time reading the Zoomer equivalent of Goosebumps. At any rate, it's pretty clear that the new canon is meant to be more book-centric, which gives me faint Final Fantasy XV vibes, where if you want to understand the greater story, you need to consume the alternative media. And look, I'll be level here with you folks, even as someone who enjoys the FNAF games as a guilty pleasure, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I hated when Final Fantasy XV did it. My sentiments aren't much different for Ruin. Still, as a standalone, completely 100% free DLC, it's actually really good in most aspects. The jump scares and horror really bring the series back to its roots. Each area is notably distinct from the previous ones. There's plenty of collectibles, and the game makes it super easy to go back and find them. And I love the look of the Ruin animatronics. On the other hand, beyond the connection to the books being a major gripe, the game is way too dark most of the time, which I assume was done on purpose to cut down on the work that devs had to do. The puzzles aren't spectacularly challenging, though they'd probably be more so if I were the game's actual target audience of young teens and kids. The game also has multiple endings, and none of them make a lick of sense. The game is a confusing mess story-wise, which is par for the course for FNAF games, but in a way more dense way than usual. There's also various aspects to the gameplay that feel like they're meant to be bigger than they actually are, but see no conclusion and seemingly have no effect on the actual gameplay or endings. There's a lot of it that feels unfinished or disjointed. I'm not really sure what word to use here. So many words fit, but not entirely. At any rate, it's free. If you have Security Breach and like FNAF, go play it already if you haven't yet. Normally I'd mention the price and whether it's worth it, so I'll refer back to Security Breach's price, which is, at time of recording, still $40. With the Ruin DLC, I'd say it's probably more worth that price than originally, but unless you're desperate to dive into what's essentially an extra 2 or 3 hours of gameplay and more of vague FNAF lore, you can probably pick it up for about $20 or $30 during the Halloween or winter sales. Thanks for hanging out today. If you are on ChunkyBeef, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. See you soon.